Welcome to another episode of the Leading Life Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Zook, and this is where we say the quiet parts out loud about being better leaders. This is for people who want to lead better with clarity, humility, and purpose. So here we go. Right now on today's episode, 10 advantages you can have over every other leader. Yes, you are listening to the Leading Life Podcast, where we talk about what it takes to grow, lead, and live with purpose. I'm your host, Andy Zook, and each episode here is designed to give you simple, real-world tools to help you show up as your best self in work and in life. I'm going to say the quiet parts out loud. No fluff, no listener traps, just actionable steps you can take today. And you know, I started this podcast because I truly care about the people that work for us and the leaders who lead them. So I'm here to share what I've learned from over 35 years of leadership coaching, mentoring, and motivating teams. And my examples here are from on the job, from life, and my growth myself. Bottom line here is I help leaders become even stronger leaders. And if you're not in a leadership position, that's okay. You want to know what to expect from your leaders and lead your life better. You're in the right place. Let's do this together. All right, here we go. So today we're going to bake a cake. Basically, we're going to put together about 10 powerful ingredients that are going to make you even more powerful as a leader, more effective than before. And if you can't combine all 10, that's okay. Even if you can just combine a couple of these ingredients, you're going to have an advantage over a lot of other people, because I guarantee a lot of leaders this year are going to end up doing the same things they did last year and get the same results. But that's not you. That's not why you're listening to this podcast. You want to excel. You want to be the best leader you can be. Let me tell you why this episode matters. It matters because leaders think the way to get ahead is simple if they work harder, if they push more, and demand excellence. Okay? Some of that's true. But if effort alone created great leadership, then we'd have a lot more great leaders out there, right? The truth is, leaders who rise, they earn loyalty, trust, and influence. They aren't necessarily smarter or more driven. They're just operating with advantages that others don't even know exist. So today I want to talk about those advantages with you. We're going to go through it with awareness and regulation and trust, and maybe a less amount of authority, intensity, and control. Modern leadership in 2026 is defined by the balance between technological leverage and deep human empathy. All right, so let's talk about the quiet parts that can change everything. Number one, emotional self-regulation. Most leaders believe their value comes from decisiveness. And while some of that's true, your real advantage is emotional regulation. So when pressure hits, most leaders react, but strong leaders respond. So if you stay calm while others escalate, pause while others defend, listen while others interrupt, you instantly will become the safest and strongest presence in the room. People don't follow the loudest leader, they follow the most grounded one, and that's you. So if you can regulate yourself, you're going to regulate the room and the team. Number two, the advantage of being hard to offend. Yeah, that's something few leaders realize. The easiest leaders to manipulate are the easiest leaders to offend. So if your ego gets hooked easily, it gets triggered, people will start to walk on eggshells. They'll filter the information from you, aka the truth, and they're going to avoid those hard conversations. But when you're hard to offend, you gain access to the truth. You hear things other leaders don't hear. You get warned earlier in the process, and you see problems before they explode. Being unoffendable isn't weakness. It's an emotional authority. Number three, the advantage of asking better questions. We talk about that a lot on the podcast because really average leaders give answers. Like I always like to say, there's many leaders out there running around talking about what they know, while there's a greater group of leaders that are asking about what they don't know. Exceptional leaders ask questions that slow the room down. Instead of, why didn't I get this done? They ask, what got in the way? Or instead of, hey, who messed this up? They ask, what did we miss here? So questions can shift people from defense to ownership. If you want an edge, stop trying to sound impressive and start sounding curious, because curiosity disarms fear. All right. Number 4, the advantage of psychological safety. Yeah, so I know we talked about this a lot on the podcast, almost every other episode it feels like, but honestly, it's one of the most powerful things you can do, and it's really creating a safe space for everybody to thrive. Most leaders want compliance, but few leaders earn commitment. So remember, commitment's only going to happen when people feel safe to speak their mind and tell you what's going on. They feel safe to challenge things. Hey, we've been doing this one way forever, but I think I have an idea that would be better. Or they feel safe to admit a mistake. I work with some people, or I should say I have worked with some people in the past that can never admit wrongdoing, and it harms them. I see it harm them more than they know. So when your team knows they won't be punished for honesty, it's going to get really an epidemic of faster learning, earlier warnings, and then stronger innovation. And that's where we all want to go. Other leaders get silence, but you get the truth. So lead with those human moments. We're in this AI saturated world. So authentic human connection has a higher economic value. So make sure you create intentional connection. Counteract your workforce sort of loneliness by creating human moments, small intentional acts of undivided attention for your team members. And remember to model well-being, because burnout is now a strategic risk. Leaders must visibly take their PTO, take their holidays, take their time off, and maintain work boundaries. That gives employees permission to do the same. AKA, stop calling and texting your people on their day off or the weekend. Let it go. Like I said before on an episode, our parents went to work. They came home Friday at 6. They didn't hear from their boss till Monday at 8 a.m. So, just because we can reach everybody instantly now doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It's not. Give your people a mental break. And then I want you to lastly connect your daily tasks to the organization's larger societal or environmental impact. Imagine that. Organizations that have purpose rather than just a slogan on a wall have better retention and financial performance. People feel connected to it. That alone is a massive advantage. So remember the advantage of psychological safety. Okay, number 5, the advantage of fast repair. Yeah, every leader messes up. We all make mistakes, and what separates great leaders from forgettable ones is the speed of repair. So most leaders avoid repair because it feels vulnerable. But when you say, hey, you know what? Maybe I didn't approach that the right way, or I didn't handle that well, let's reset. You're going to gain credibility, trust, and emotional maturity. So fast repair keeps relationships elastic instead of brittle. And unrepaired moments quietly erode influence. Repaired moments deepen it. So repair quickly. Number 6, adopt human AI augmented leadership. Yeah, we're now in that world. Competitive advantage in 2026 comes from managing human agent teams, where AI is treated as a collaborator rather than just a tool. So develop your AI influency. Shift from technical mastery to understanding AI's logic, its biases, and its risks. Focus on asking better questions of AI systems to refine decision making. And then prioritize your human judgment. AI handles routine execution. Leaders must excel in high stakes judgment, ethical oversight, and then, the meaning making behind what we do. Those machines cannot replicate that. And then model responsible usage. Create clear principles for AI ethics and transparency. So, such as documenting when a human must make the final decision on people matters. So, use prompts for strategic decision making and foresight. Use prompts for high stake communication, team performance, and AI orchestration. Use prompts for personal leadership presence. It can make a big difference if you can mix that together with your empathetic leadership style. Now, all right, number 7, the advantage of seeing people and not roles. Yeah, I'm big on this. Most leaders see employees as positions, outputs, and metrics. Leaders with an edge see fear behind resistance, burnout behind disengagement, and then maybe potential behind underperformance. So when people feel seen, they bring more of themselves to work. And no system outperforms a human who feels valued. You guys know I work inside a department in a larger host store, And everybody in that store is important to me because they can all impact my department, no matter if it's someone in, let's say, HR, someone that's in the dock receiving packages. It could be someone that's greeting people as they come into the store. All of those positions have equal value to me. I don't treat anybody differently than anyone else depending on hierarchy. I don't even believe in that. Matter of fact, I probably talk to the store manager the least, but I talk to the guy who folds, the clothes in the men's department more, because all of that greatly impacts how we work together in our department. Your network is your net worth, and everybody needs to be equal on it. And for the life of my career, I have seen so many people make the mistake of disregarding people in lower positions. They got promoted forgetting that they were once there themselves, and they sort of have their head in the air and they forgot what it's like to do that job, but they also forgot the value that that person brings to the job. So don't be that guy, basically. All right. Number 8, the advantage of doing the inner work. This might be the biggest advantage of all, because most leaders never examine their defensiveness or their need for control. Also, their fear of being challenged. That's a big one that a lot of people get caught up on. I used to get like, why are they challenging me? How dare they, right? Or the attachment to being right. I always say, give up being right and focus on doing right. Because everybody loves how it feels. It must be this big dopamine rush for a lot of people to feel right, to feel correct about something. I don't know. I don't have that at all. I couldn't care less about being right, but I do care about leaning in the right directions to create change for betterment. So those patterns that you do can leak into every interaction. Leaders who do the inner work don't personalize the feedback. They don't weaponize their authority, and they don't need to dominate. They lead with quiet confidence. And people trust leaders who don't need to prove themselves all the time. And then number 9, the advantage of long-term thinking. A lot of us leaders get caught up in numbers, how things look, aka optics, and then our wins. And all that is important, of course. We all look at that. We're all looking at the scoreboard. But long-term leaders really focus on trust. They embrace compatibility, and they are constantly working to improve the culture. They understand you can force performance today, but lose people tomorrow. So if you invest in people now, your performance is going to compound. And that's the real advantage. And the real advantage is one key word, and that is patience. You can't build Rome in a day, but you can through trust, capability, and building that culture. All right, last. Number 10, shift from control to clarity. So, we live in we work in an increasingly flat and hybrid organizational structure, a lot of us. And we follow traditional top-down authority. But that's being replaced as we move forward by relational influence. So I want you to focus more on outcome-based management. Move away from monitoring presence to managing performance-based on clear, measurable outcomes and deliverables. And then begin to reward teams for uncovering risks early, a culture where employees feel safe to admit failure, like we talked about with psychological safety, or identify broken processes, accelerate your innovation. Those people that bring up those, risks or breakdowns in the code, they are your hero. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, they're pushed aside. Oh, there's Bill in marketing again who said we got a problem with this, but I don't see the problem at all, and we just keep doing it. Yeah, and then you're creating more work for people than they have to do because you won't listen to this guy in marketing. So reward teams for uncovering risks early on. This is what's going to build an incredibly more fluid culture that's working together. And then eliminate the performative work, quote unquote performative. Reduce status meetings in favor of concise updates and protect team focus ruthlessly. Sometimes I get on conference calls and people are talking for 15 minutes about something that we all can read as we open up our computer in the morning. And I'm like, why are we taking 15 minutes of precious time where we could collaborate and be stronger as a business to talk about what is already on our opening screen when we turn on our computer in the morning? Yeah, kills me. All right, so here is your leadership edge for the episode. You don't need to outwork other leaders. You don't need to outtalk them. Please don't do that. And you don't need to outposition them. You just need to outregulate, outlisten, and outrepair them. Because the leader who creates safety, clarity, and trust will always perform better than the leader who relies on pressure. And what's the best part of all of this cake that we just baked, is that these advantages are available to anyone willing to do the work. And this is your call to arms. This is the actionable step for you in this episode. Ask yourself, where could I gain an immediate advantage by changing how I show up and not what I demand? And which one of these behaviors could you start doing today? Remember, there's a great quote from Andrew Lloyd Webber. What strikes me is there is a very fine line between success and failure. And just one ingredient can make the difference. All right, so here are your ingredients again. Emotional self-regulation, the advantage of being hard to offend, the advantage of asking better questions, the advantage of creating psychological safety, the advantage of fair repair, the advantage of adopting human AI augmented leadership, the advantage of seeing people and not their roles, the advantage of doing the inner work, the advantage of long-term thinking, and the advantage of shifting from control to clarity. All right, so that's my episode, and I hope this impacted you for the better, and if it did, please leave me a rating or review on whatever platform you're listening, and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss another episode of the Leading Life Podcast. And if this episode inspired you, please share it with another leader who needs to get that advantage. Share it with a coworker. Share it with anybody you think that it would impact, because the world gets better when us leaders get better. I want you to lead with purpose, live with intention, and keep becoming who you were meant to be. Because you were meant to be the best possible leader. This is why you dived in to becoming a leader. But most importantly, I want you to go out today, because this is the key to leadership. Be the hero for somebody. Be the hero in somebody's story today. And if you're not able to do that, be the hero of your story and take action. Put these advantages to work. Thank you for listening. I'm Andy Zook. Have an amazing week ahead. Have an amazing 2026, and we'll talk soon, okay? Take care of yourselves out there. Bye.